Welcome to the Unitarian, Universalist congregation of Grand Traverse. I'm Marianne Rivers and a member of the Sunday Service Committee. We're so glad to have you join us on this beautiful morning, whether you are online streaming or sitting right here with us in the sanctuary. All are welcome here, just as you are, whatever your mood, whatever your beliefs, whomever you love, you are welcome to join us in love and acceptance, compassion, and justice. Later in the service, we'll be announcing your joys and concerns. So if you're streaming, find the address on the flash or on our website, UUCGT.org. And if you're in the sanctuary and would like to share one of your joys and concerns, please write it in the book as it's being used right now by Kim, and we will read it later. Just a final reminder to please turn off your cell phone if you're in the sanctuary. Now, let us enjoy Barbara Young playing our prelude, Vogel als Prophet, translated, the prophet bird. We are so blessed with Barbara Young in our sanctuary. What a challenging, kind of haunting, beautiful piece that was, Mr. Schumann. This morning we are welcoming Reverend Jane Lippert, Outreach Coordinator for Central Methodist Church. We have welcomed her many times before, and I saw her embracing and welcoming and talking with many of you already. So I think we have a very fun morning for ourselves. The title of her sermon is Fight or Flight, Black or White. Has ambiguity ever raised its interesting head in your life? Have you thought you were in charge of things and found that that was really not the case at all? One very clear lesson for me came years ago when my father was not well. He was given many tests, he saw many doctors, he had many diagnoses, until finally I received a call from the University of Michigan Hospital from my mom saying that he was ill with ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which is a terminal disease. And I remember the moment very clearly, the anger that rushed in, and then the sadness that came, and then that feeling of helplessness, because I had my life pretty well planned out, and it did not include my father dying at such a young age. I felt blindsided, and through the help of friends and counseling and time passing, I finally learned a lesson which I've lived most of the time and given to my children this advice. Keep your knees bent, because you don't know what's coming. And if they push you, you don't necessarily fall over. And now I would like to share some words that I also enjoy looking at over the years. This is a poem. It's called The Three Goals by David Budville. The first goal is to see the thing itself, in and for itself, to see it simply and clearly for that it is. No symbolism, please. The second goal is to see each individual thing as unified as one, with all the other 10,000 things. In this regard, a little wine helps a lot. The third goal is to grasp the first and the second goals, to see the universal and the particular simultaneously. Regarding this one, call me when you get it. And now, Reverend Lippert is going to help me with our next step.
Each week, you begin the service with an acknowledgement that the land we are on was originally settled by Anishinaabe people, and that the people suffered greatly from colonization. We hold up the basket of the 4 healing medicines: sage, cedar, tobacco, and sweetgrass. As we light the chalice here, we know that other chalices are being lit around the world. These words, taken from a prayer by Dorothea Kaufman, celebrate this connectivity. In this unity of creative sparks and sparkling creation, life unfolds. Let us open our senses to the light within and around us and send it out with shining expanses into the world. and we sound the bell to center our thoughts. Follow the sounding to your own peaceful space. Our opening hymn is number 86 in the hardcover, Blessed Spirit of My Life. Please stand as you're willing and able. Singing works better that way.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Betsy Hammerberg, and I'm the Director of Religious Education here at UUCGT. Have you ever had something happen to you that you were not expecting? Something that you didn't want to happen? Marianne just shared one of those things. So just hand up if that's ever happened to you, something you didn't expect, something you didn't want. Yes. I'm going to read you a story called Beautiful Oops. And I see we have a young friend. Would you like to come up so you can see the pictures better? Yeah? Hi. Okay. A Beautiful Oops by Barney Salzberg. Oops. A torn piece of paper is just the beginning. Every spill has lots and lots of possibilities. Bent paper is something to celebrate. A little drip of paint lets your imagination run wild. A scrap of paper can be fun to play with. A smudge and a smear can make magic appear. A stain has potential if you play with its shape. Holes in your paper are worth exploring. And inside there's a dog. Way all the way inside there. When you think you have made a mistake, oops, think of it as an opportunity to make something beautiful. The end. So, things do happen that we don't always expect, right? Things that we don't want to happen. And we can't always turn them into something beautiful because that's life. But we do always keep going and do what we can, do our best with those oopses and those things that happen to us. Thank you, and we will now hear our offering from Mary Ann. And we don't have any kids.
Oops, it's that time in the service. It's time to talk about stewardship, about our stewardship in this self-sustaining and life-giving community. I hope that you will reflect on your generosity and join in the love and the care of our congregation, and also in the love and the care of our community. Baskets will be passed here in the sanctuary, and there are 3 ways for those of you who are streaming to make an offering. First, you can send a check to our office. 2, you can go to our website, UUCGT.org. And 3, you can go to Vanco, to the Vanco site on your phone and make a contribution. Our meditation music for today is Every Night and Every Morn by Ralph Vaughan Williams.
It is our practice as a religious community to set aside time in our service to name and honor the joys and concerns that mark our lives, the milestones and moments of our lived experience. I will be sharing the joys and concerns that have been offered up for us to hold on our hearts today. If you have a joy or concern that is a bit too heavy to share, I invite you to reach out to the congregational care team or to simply hold it on your heart as you are held in this community. If you're here in the sanctuary, you can identify our congregational care representative by their rainbow stole. After testing positive for COVID, my niece Megan was on oxygen in the hospital for 4 days. She came home on Friday, thankfully. From Chris Lautz. Salvador Mendez as he travels to a new location, living with many challenges. A concern from Judy. Our donations to those in need are down because of fewer people in the sanctuary on Sundays. If you can, please send a check to the office noted those in need, as there are still many folks out there who need us. A joy for the glorious vacation enjoyed by the teens from my block, my hood, my city in Chicago, due to the generosity of so many members of this congregation. They will never forget all the fun and new experiences they had in northern Michigan. From Kim Grebe. And we light a final candle and pause for all of the joys and concerns that remain in the silence of our hearts. Mary Ann Rivers will now share a reading with us.
This is a poem by Laura Williams, and she's entitled it, Uncertain About Ambiguity. I love the title. Excuse me. Engaging with ambiguity is like peering round a door frame, not sure of your surroundings. Let's get lost in ambiguity, like a thick coat that wraps around. Uncertain of 1,000 words or just one. It's ambiguous. I'm not sure. To be doubtful of the uncertain or scared is certainly reasonable. We fear the illogical, the unknown. So what is there to fear? Everything and nothing. If our fears never manifest, what are we afraid of? The thought that one day they might. Divorce, death, redundancy. We fear how uncertainty makes us feel out of control and alone. Restless, spinning from one idea to the next, or from one anxiety-ridden state right into panic. Is fear the enemy or the unknown? Shall we avoid it or make certain our uncertainties? Make certain of life's plans, or go haphazard into battle, drumming a marching song to life's uncertain rhythms? And now we will hear from Reverend Lippert.
Or maybe you won't, as you saw. Ambiguity. It's a pleasure to be here, as always. And with those of you online also, thank you for being with us today. When I first started seminary, my parents weren't quite sure exactly what I was doing and why I was doing it. I mean, mind you, I'd been raised in the church, but we never talked about. We had prayer at Thanksgiving and Christmas, but they supported their children no matter what. So if I went to seminary, okay. My father worked in the high school as a high school guidance counselor, and an old neighbor of ours, not old in person, but old at the first house we'd lived in when we were in the town. Young man, my age, came to my father's office in his white short sleeve shirt and black slacks and said, "I understand Jane is in seminary." My dad said, "Yes." He said, "Well, I've just come to make sure that she has been born again." My dad said, "Whatever she needs, she has." He was okay with ambiguity in that moment, but he was very clear that if I needed to be born again, if I didn't need to be born again, whatever, I had what I needed. When we are very young, we are praised when we know the right answer, aren't we? What does the dog say? Where's your nose? I've done many a children's sermon in which the children shout out an answer immediately, "Jesus, God!" so that they would have given the correct answer no matter what. They know it has to be something about that, and they want to be right. Many churches have children memorize the names of the books of the Bible as if instant recall of whether Jeremiah or Isaiah comes first will be of any blessing in their lives. In school, we memorize times tables and how to count by 2s and 5s. In biology, we learn lists and formulas. I remember King Philip came over from Greater Spain. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Okay. It's how you remembered kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. And I was just impressed with myself when I remembered that when I was writing this weekend. I don't know if I know how to apply them, but I do remember King Philip came over from Greater Spain. Having a framework memorized can make application of the concepts easier. It's a base taught at the level where humans are more black and white, or to quote the developmental psychologist Jean Piaget, children 7 to 11 are in the concrete operational stage. The word concrete explains it all. But his theory also assumes that most of us will develop beyond an 11-year-old developmental stage. That we will entertain areas of gray, that we will learn that not everything is yes or no, good or bad, right or wrong. Educational philosophies, for the most part, incorporate this progression, except it seems when certain communities of faith get involved. I'm of the Christian faith, and it has a large and vocal segment that freezes religious cognitive development at the concrete operational stage. The framework is that there is good or bad, which becomes my way, assuming my way, of course, is God's way, or the highway, in this case, the highway to hell. The freezing under the age of 11 is personified by characters in the Bible, zealots and Pharisees. They're prototypes, zealots and Pharisees. Animal nature, and humans are animals, has a typical response to what one perceives as threatening. Fight or flight, right? Fight or flight. This could be someone charging you with a knife, in which it's wise to engage in fight or flight for your own safety, or someone inviting you to change or grow, which really does not necessitate battle or evacuation. So the zealots choose the way of fight. It describes people who want to change, fix, control, and reform other people and events. The zealot always looks for the political sinner. I know you're in here. The unjust one, the bad person, over there. Zealots consider themselves righteous when attacking them, whoever they are at a given time, hating them, at times killing them. When they do, they believe they are doing a holy duty for God. I would say that religious fundamentalists of any religion fit this prototype quite nicely. As long as they are the problem, whoever they are, and we keep our focus on changing them, correcting them, then we can sit in a reasonably comfortable position. But it is a position that the saints call pax perniciosa. Forgive my pronunciation. But what it means is a dangerous and false peace. It feels like peace, but instead it is the false peace of avoidance, denial, and projection. I say alternatively, the peace of maturing spirituality comes from holding the tension and allowing for ambiguity. In my work in outreach, I work with all kinds of personalities and have all kinds of discussions. And recently, a man I'll call D came up to me and said, "Can you help me? How do I deal with people who just won't see the truth? They just won't see when something is false." Now, there's a little background here. The first time I met D, first time he came for an outreach meal, he had a computer and he was showing, "You want to see my artwork?" "Well, of course I do." So he's showing me his drawings, and then he started showing me web pages he was developing for anti-vaxxers, fake COVID, and so on. And mind you, I had just heard of someone in the church who had died from COVID, so I did not behave well. I let my emotions get me, and I reacted, and I said, "We need to not talk." And so I didn't behave it well, but we went on from there, and we had months and months of being civil and being able to talk about other things and have other conversations, and I was able to help him. But 2 weeks ago, he came up with this statement about, what do I do about people? And I know who he means, people like me, right? So, he was going on and on. I said, well, you know what sometimes helps me when I get frustrated is letting go of the need to be right. If I let go of that, it lowers my frustration level. And he says, but this is stainless steel, and even no matter how much somebody might think that's paper, if they go to cut it with scissors, it's not going to. It's not my need to be right, it's the truth. Yeah. I know what you mean, I'm thinking. And he keeps on going and going and not letting me have a word in edgewise. So I say, D, this is no longer a conversation. You're just speaking at me. So we need to, I need to remove myself from this. And he said, no, you just don't know how traumatic it is for me to come in every day and see half of people's faces because my volunteers have opted to continue wearing masks. And so he's being traumatized. And I said, D, I'm not making you all wear masks. We have you spaced out and you have a choice. We're not making you wear a mask. But it's traumatic for us to have to see you half of faces, and I just want to help people because they're just believing all these lies. And I said, you and I consult different sources. And he said, but I'm consulting, I have government statistics. Come, let's sit down and I'll show you this. And I said, no. I said, we consult different sources, so end of conversation. But he kept on coming. And he kept on speaking. He was following me until finally a coworker, Bob, comes up and says, you need to leave now. Oh, now you're going to use your power because you've got power. Okay, so there that went. Was Dee a zealot? I think so. So zealots choose the way of fight. And the other prototype, Pharisees, choose the way of flight. Some also label this the falsely innocent. I'm not racist. You get what I mean. The Pharisee denies pain altogether and refuses to carry the shadow side of anything in themselves or in their chosen group. No uncertainty, no ambiguity is allowed as they scapegoat and project their own wounded side onto someone else. In the Bible, Jesus refers to Pharisees as hypocrites because they paid a great deal of attention to outward ordinances and actions that would make them appear righteous, but they were not as concerned with actually being righteous in their hearts. In other words, they were not interested in self-growth and self-change and maturation. It can be kind of like a narcotic, right? You get kind of addicted to never being wrong and not participating to anything and not having any wounds. And, at times, it's probably necessary for folks to just get through the day to do that, right? Sometimes things are so hugely painful, you have to maybe numb yourself to it and project it out. I served a church in Muskegon, and one of my parishioners, Delphine, worked in the adult literacy program. And so she was teaching adults how to read, which was a wonderful thing. And she would always share with me different people she was working with. And once she was working with a woman who was also in the process of overcoming a severe addiction. And so, she was learning how to read. She was in a treatment program. And she shared with Delphine about the church she was in, and that Delphine really needed to switch churches and come with her, and went on to talk about this very structured, very Pharisaic church. And at first, I was all judgy about that. Oh my gosh, you have to get her out of that church. La, 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 la. Until I realized that structure that community gave her at this point in her life was the only way she was able to hold it together, to not take drugs one more day, and then one more day, and then one more day. So then my prayer for her became that she would have in the future someone in some place where she could spiritually mature beyond that point once she had claimed her health. Both zealots and Pharisees, people frozen at the level of fight or flight, are subject to hypocrisy, projection, or just plain illusion. We are right, you are wrong. The world's divided into black and white, and we alone know who is good and who is bad. You can be liberal or conservative and be a zealous or Pharisaic person. I am fairly certain I have my share of moments, days, weeks where I need to be right. How about you? I know about a toddler level of American Sign Language. I know the colors, right? So this is black, and this is white, and I love this one. This is gray. Gray. I love that. I strive to be more comfortable in the gray. My hope is to follow a better way by prayerfully bearing witness against injustice, while also agreeing to recognize my own complicity in that same injustice. It is the path of what some would call the third way. Martin Luther King Jr. advocated the third way. It is beyond fight or flight, which in a certain sense it includes both. It's fighting in a new way from a compassionately centered place within, and fleeing from quick, egocentric responses. It requires tapping into our stream of the holy, whether that is the power of community, the universal good, or God. The Buddhist nun, Pema Chodron, said, "As human beings, not only do we seek resolution, but we also feel that we deserve resolution. However, not only do we not deserve resolution, we suffer from resolution. We don't deserve resolution, we deserve something better. We deserve our birthright, which is the middle way, an open state of mind that can relax with paradox and ambiguity. May there be blessed gray in you and in your community."
Our closing hymn is 131, Love Will Guide Us. Please stand if you're willing and able.
Thank you, and thank you so much, Reverend Lippert. That was a wonderful, wonderful sermon. Very thought-provoking and with a touch of humor, which I love. As we extinguish the chalice, please hold these words in your heart. They're by Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving. So may it be.